All right, got another cool comment that I wanted to actually continue the discussion. It's from Temo Rakut. He says, calories in versus calories out is the only solution to weight loss, but it doesn't sell because it's too simple. Glamour magazines or whatever fat people read has to sell new bullshit diets with catchy buzzwords for each publication. Similarly, personal trainers have to sell bullshit exercises to clients because heavy compound movements and simple progressive overloads don't sell. Selling bullshit exercises is how trainers falsely extend their purpose to clients to get paid. The whole industry is a farce. I like that question. I like this comment because it resonates with me quite a bit because I see where you're coming from. I feel the way you feel about this. And one of the things about your question that, first of all, that kind of hits me home, as you says, but it doesn't sell, or it doesn't sell because it's too simple. Glamour magazines or whatever fat people read. Whatever fat people read. That's mean. A lot of people think it. You're just one of the few people to actually say it. Continuing to dissect your comment. Has to sell bullshit diets. Yes, bullshit diets with catchy buzzwords for each publication. You know what's funny about the whole idea of buzzwords? They're only buzzwords because they don't know what the word is. They're not used to it. Like if you hear internal, external rotate, I can't even say the word. Internal, external rotation, that could be a buzzword or phrase eventually. But yes, it's whatever. Because you think about just think about the top of the market, the biggest, widest stage, like Justin Bieber or who's ever famous right now. Drake. I know Drake is very famous. Like a lot of the stuff they say, how they appear on camera, on TV, or what there's in the news, gets all over the place. It becomes mainstream. Whereas external, internal rotation really only applies to coaches. It applies to physical therapists, and it applies really to the more the fitness geek society or community. Similarly, personal trainers have to sell bullshit exercises to clients because heavy compound movements and simple progressive overload don't sell. Heavy compound movements and simple progressive overload don't sell. Actually, they do. They sell it to you. You will buy that because you believe that. I think that's one of the things that people don't realize is that people buy what they believe. Sure, you have good salespeople and whatnot, but the reality is people believe a certain kind of box of things, and sometimes you can push people outside of it. But people who are, let's just say, atheists or pure atheists cannot see a world where there's a God. I mean, I'm being very general because I'm not a particularly atheist. Or those that are like hardcore Christians that believe in God and the Bible cannot see a world without a God. They don't believe it. So, but you can stretch them out to maybe consider that there might not be a God. But I use that as an example because, similarly, personal trainers have to sell bullshit exercises. They're technically not bullshit. They are bullshit and they're not bullshit. Like wine is kind of bullshit. $100 glass of wine, $100 bottle of wine, or a $10 bottle of wine. What's the difference, right? It is all kind of bullshit, right? And the reality is what you find out when you, just by reading your comment and reading into it in my own personal experience, because I've actually felt a similar way that you have, is that everything is bullshit. It really is. The reality is that some things that you might think is bullshit is not bullshit to other people, right? Aliens is not bullshit to other people. God is not bullshit to other people. In fact, what did you say? Bullshit exercises are typical bullshit exercises are not really bullshit exercises to people who don't understand progressive overload, who don't understand heavy lifting, who don't want to buy the idea of heavy lifting. Even though women and maybe a lot of people who are not familiar with the fitness community are, they're not educated, on the topic. They still feel like they're going to get big and bulky. They're afraid, or they're too lazy. They don't want to go through the pain of it. And that's the reality, is people don't want to do that. They don't want to go through that pain or issue of progressive overload and heavy progressive movements. But you do. And I do. Or at least I used to. Selling bullshit exercises is how trainers falsely extend their purpose to clients. It's not really... So you have to look at... You're right in some ways, in other ways you're wrong, because the truth and reality about anything is you have to buy it, or I should say trainers typically sell things to clients in a way that they want to buy, right? While being as ethical within that person's view of morality. This is just an example of a movie, right? Star Wars movies that recently came out, Rogue One. What else is there? just any Harry Potter movies, things that are just really popular, right? You expect to see a certain thing. You expect to see a certain story. I'll just take a simpler genre, just a love story, right? In a love story, you expect something to happen. You expect something to happen, and even though you might know what happens, or maybe even someone tells you the ending, you still will watch it. And why is that? Well, okay, I know this is a hell of a stretch of analogy, but just hang in there with me. People love romance. Now, people will say, and I even consider sex as romance. It's the same thing. Or I guess leading up, everything that leads up to sex is romance, but whatever you want to call it. And I know I'm kind of going out in left field, but it's okay, because it's over a 5-minute video, which means I've lost most of you guys anyway, as according to my YouTube analytics. Selling bullshit exercises is how trainers falsely extend their purpose to clients. The reality is, clients that train with trainers on a regular basis are clients that train with trainers on a regular basis. That's just how they are. They have to like you, they have to tolerate you, they have to enjoy your presence, they have to learn something, they have to get value. But people who train with personal trainers typically almost always train with personal trainers for a long time. I mean, I've had clients I've had for 5 years, you know, and am I teaching them the new and latest and greatest things? No. You know, it's not false because it's just something that you do. It's part of the psychology of the market. You know, like just with your comment, you know, you believe in heavy compound movements and simple progressive overload. Right. But I'm guessing you're young. But when you get older, you're going to realize that the world is a little bit more granular. It's more high resolution. There's just more, there's a lot of gray. There's lots of color, and there's lots of differences in opinion, because you start to realize, like, you think there's in-betweens. There's in-betweens the in-betweens. And the whole industry is a farce. It can be. I mean, the reality is, again, was it preaching to the choir? There's a saying, preaching to the choir. Calories in, calories out, exercise, eat your vegetables. If that worked, almost everybody would say it. And you actually eventually do end up having to say it. Every fitness professional, anyone on YouTube eventually says it, especially if they're giving solid advice. But they have to kind of lure you in by some sort of bullshit. Like, who lures you in of a sort of bullshit? Let's take C.D. Fletcher. That can be perceived as bullshit. His cursing, his personality, his entertainment value. Fucking C.D. Fletcher's a man. He's fucking sick. That deep voice, that crazy beard, those jacked biceps. That's kind of bullshit if you think about it. But I like C.D. Fletcher. What else is bullshit? A lot of people who sell supplements, who are magazines that are jacked and ripped, knowing that a good chunk of them probably do more than just take those supplements. Like, they might lift weights, you know? What else is there? There's a lot more to it. But anyways, I'll end this video. This video was fun to make. Thanks for your comment. It got me fired up. Temo, Rakut. Talk to you later.